Hello and welcome to this very special broadcast. We have one of India's best-selling authors with us. We have Ashwin Sanghi, who has given us great novels from Rozabal Line to the Vault of Vishnu. Ashwin, welcome to the show. Let me start with a very simple question. How has been your lockdown, number one? And you are in Mumbai. So you are in one of the biggest hotspots in the world as it stands today. So how has been that experience?
Uh, First of all, thank you for inviting me, Pramod. And it's unfortunate that our previous interactions have been in that sense in happier and more pleasant times. Uh, and in some ways, I'm also feeling jealous of you that you are comfortably seated in Goa, which seems to have a lot less troubles these days than Mumbai.
Yeah.
But having said that, I guess to a certain extent, I should not complain because creative people, writers, artists, script writers, poets, these are people, musicians, these are people who are used to being lonely. They are, what they do tends to always be in locked rooms and enclosed spaces. So in that sense, I have been very productive over the last 30 to 60 days. And I guess maybe in some ways I thank Almighty God for having made me a writer, because I think I'm being able to deal with this lockdown far better than most people.
Let me start with the Vault of Vishnu. For one simple reason is that the book came out, and usually you are accustomed to huge promotions, and then we went into lockdown. So different experience this time, a book coming out, okay, people were at home, everybody would have wanted to read a book like that, and yet you cannot promote it on field as much as you would have liked to.
Yeah, that is true, Pramod. But the advantage was that the book actually came out sometime around the 23rd or 24th of Jan.
Yeah.
And then we had a clear February and March so almost around 8 or 10 weeks.
Yeah.
During which the book was available at retail stores and online, and a lot of promotion happened during that time. So to a very great extent, by the time we went into lockdown by the end of March or early April, a lot of people already had the book in their hands. And now what they also had was the additional bonus of having the time to be able to read it.
To read it.
So in that sense, I'm always the sort of guy who looks at the glass half full. For me, it's never half empty.
Yeah, taking that point ahead, this is like we all are living a fiction. It's a time where everybody feels. I was trying to watch a very nice TV show. I felt that my life is right now more interesting than what they are showing on the screen. So such are the times that we are living a fiction ourselves. So what do you think? There is a happy ending to this fiction, the glass half full, or you still want to keep your fingers crossed?
No, Pramod, I am the ultimate optimist. Yes, I agree with you. I used to always. I have got a bit of a title of that I'm not just a writer, but I'm usually called a conspiracy writer. So most of my books, they have of a conspiracy thing, that what if this happens or what if that happens. And unfortunately, to a certain extent, I'm now becoming stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Fact, in some ways, is proving to be stranger than fiction. So even in my wildest dreams, as a conspiracy writer, I may not have conjured up such a crazy scenario.
Yeah.
If you've already read The Vault of Vishnu, the other day I was being interviewed by someone, and she told me, she said, Ashwin, there are so many pages in The Vault of Vishnu that are devoted to scientific laboratories operating and doing genetic research in China.
Yeah.
And I said, I wish I didn't have this habit of coming up with books, which later on in some ways came true. When I had written the Rozabal Line, I had no idea that an attack on Mumbai was going to happen as a result of a bunch of people coming aboard a boat in Mumbai. And that was written in the year 2007, 2008, way beyond 26/11 having happened. So in some ways, I think there is a deep connection between fact and fiction. We, as fiction writers, we get inspired by fact, but unfortunately, very often that fact then tends to influence fiction. And this is what I see happening at the present moment. Uh, However, do I see a happy ending? Yes, I do. If you just look at pictures which are coming of the environment, if you see what is happening in terms of the overall temperature levels, if you see what is happening even for the coastal cities, and you see the condition of the seas, if you see recent pictures of rivers like the Ganga and Yamuna, if you also see the level of hygiene that now we are beginning to practice. I mean, we grew up in environments where we were always told, "Beta, ye handshake ke jagah tum zara namaste kar liya karo." What is all this air kissing that you keep doing, and what is the need of hugging? We were always told about the fact that don't unnecessarily use the refrigerator. Instead, let food be removed and use fresh food at the time when you're sitting down to eat.
Yeah.
The importance of washing hands. All of these things were told to us, but now they are all coming back to us. In that sense, I believe that the world that we are now going to go back to, hopefully, will be a wiser world. I don't know about how long this will take to sort out, but it will be a wiser world that we will go into.
But one, I'm tempted to ask you, how would fiction writing change after this? Because all of us have lived our life which is stranger than the fiction, and
Yes.
it's still ongoing. So when a fiction writer sits in front of his laptop or his pen or paper, as we used to call it, what is going to be that writer's thought process post this?
You know, Pramod, it's very strange, but it's very possible. And I hope that I'm predicted wrong. I hope that I emerge wrong. But it's very possible that what we consider to be utterly boring lives, what we used to consider to be normal, the fact that we could hop onto a train, the fact that we could go to a restaurant and sit at a crowded table with 8 other people and enjoy the same food, use the same pair of chopsticks or use the same pair of hands in order to be without any social distancing norms. The fact that we could go and stay in hotels, the fact that we could work out of offices where we had open office plans. All of this may sound like fantasy in the event that the world doesn't recover from all of this. So there will always be a space for fiction writers. The only difference is that ultimately, what is fiction all about? It is ultimately spinning a good story.
Yeah.
I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, one of the other great writers, Samuel Johnson, who said that what is the job of a novelist? To make familiar things sound new and to make new things sound familiar. And that is what we do, right? So it's very possible that right now what I am doing is taking new things and making them sound familiar, but it's very possible that in the future I may take familiar things and make it sound new.
Yeah. So how has been writing during pandemic days or lockdown days?
Well, luckily for me, I was in a very happy zone when the lockdown started because I had already finished the Vault of Vishnu, and research for my book 7 in the Bharat series had already finished. So, in other words, the bedrock of research for the next book, the 7th book,
Was already over.
Yeah, for the new one. But in the meantime, there were also projects which had come forth. These were projects which were in the OTT space, as well as there were a couple of projects which were in the nature of collaborations. And these were about 2 or 3 projects which I was wondering as to how I was going to fit them in to my normal schedule. Because as you are already aware, my writing time usually on normal days is limited to 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning.
The remaining part of the day is usually used for either my involvement in other parts of my family's business interests. It is used for my own family. It is used for the marketing of books and so on and so forth. as a result of this lockdown, suddenly I found that the whole day is available to me for writing and creativity. As a result of which I've actually been able to, jise kehte hain, one after the other, I've been able to hit sixers in the last 2 months, where I've been able to knock out several projects during this time period. And suddenly now I find myself working on my next book because all of those short-term projects have been able to get completed.
So, although the 2020 sounds very disastrous, it is very productive for you.
It is productive, and hopefully, Pramod, I don't know, my personal feeling, we as humanity, we sometimes don't understand. I was reading this very interesting book. You may have read it already. It's called Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. And he talks about the fact that Earth, as we know it, is about roughly 4.6 billion years old. And during this, he equates that 4.6 billion years to, let us say, a lifetime of an individual who has lived 46 years. So 4.6 billion is represented by 46 years of a lifetime. And in that lifetime of 46 years, human beings have been on the planet for only 4 hours. We have been there for all of 4 hours of 46 years. So the point I'm making is that the earth has been through so many upheavals. And even if you look at those 4 hours of humanity, we have been through world wars. We have been through the Black Death. We have been through bubonic and pneumonic plague. We have been through so many challenges. Why go far? There was a time when 26/11 happened, and we wondered that how will we enter a hotel or a restaurant? Will we ever be able to have a normal life? Those are the very questions we are asking ourselves today. But we all adapted. We got used to the idea that if I'm entering a public space, I will go through a security scanner and there will be an X-ray of me as well as my materials. The point is we got used to it, and that became the new normal. That's what I believe will happen even with our present situation, that we will go back to normal, but the normal will be different.
So what I say, are you saying that as a species, we are very ill-equipped to comprehend where this is going? Our only core strength is adaptability.
Our core strength, of course, is adaptability, but we have one other strength going for us, and that is the fact that the most deadly virus on earth is the human species, which means, in other words, that honestly speaking, I mean, we have royally screwed up when it comes to our environment, whether it comes to nature, whether it comes to so many factors. In fact, most species have to be worried about humanity. And that's why I believe to a very great extent that over a period of time, we will still emerge stronger from all of this. I'm sure that when the world was going through its first bouts of smallpox or polio or tuberculosis, it wondered as to how will we ever cope with this. And there must have been so many instances of people who had either passed away or were affected by all of that. But then eventually they did. So I think that is the way that we need to look at the present situation that we are in.
How has this changed your thought process? Because as an author, there are so many plots always going on in your head. And right now, we are in a situation where you don't know where this all is going. So internally, on a thought process level, how has this changed you as an author? Or this hasn't changed you?
No. The way I like to think about this is that I'm suddenly realizing in the last 2 months that, honestly speaking, there is a difference between my need and my greed. There is a huge difference between the two things. We have all been leading our lives based on greed. Whether it was that I would like my books to sell more, or I would like my royalty check to be larger, or I want to have a wider influence and network of circle of friends and well-wishers and adoring fans. It could be someone saying that, hey, listen, all my clothes have become so old. Suddenly you're realizing that with 3 pairs of clothes, you can pretty much manage your life. I used to see this with my own grandfather. He used to have 5 kurta pajamas, and those used to go in for a regular wash, and he just used those 5 pairs of clothes. There was an utter simplicity to his living, which over a period of time we have lost. And
I
maybe
got
to
that nice WhatsApp forward which said that what this lockdown has taught us is that life requires very little to sustain. What we usually spend the most is on lifestyle. So do you think
Absolutely.
so do you think we have learned to differentiate now?
And Pramod, the other thing is that we have also, there used to be that old statement that at some point of time in your life, you will realize that the valuable things are not things.
Yeah, correct.
So to a certain extent, I'm beginning to understand that what does it mean to be able to enjoy a cup of tea with my wife? What does it mean to sit for an hour and actually help my son make a Lego model? Or what does it mean to be able to get on a Zoom chat with old friends like you and be able to have a conversation which can carry on for an hour or more, because neither of us have anything better to do with our time.
Yes.
Though you suddenly realize what the value of relationships, and you begin to realize that there are many things in your life. You begin to appreciate the fact that you have good health. You begin to appreciate the fact that you have enough material sustenance to be able to deal with this present challenge that you have. Because there are so many people who do not know as to where their next meal is coming from. So there are many, many things in my life which I'm suddenly realizing how grateful I am for it.
You have made with Chanakya's Chant, or you have researched Indian mythology as well as Indian history. Do you find any reference points or wisdom points, I would call them, in our ancient wisdom, which can tell us how to tackle or tread this path?
Well, what our mythology has told us repeatedly is the fact that Pralay comes. Pralay is a part of the cycle. I mean, if you see the original description of Dwarka, it was the city of doors, because it had multiple entry points where ships could enter from the high seas into Dwarka, and it had the most magnificent palaces and temples and archways. And suddenly, one fine day, the water levels rose and Pralay arrived. And then after that, there was a fight between the Yadav tribes and everything was finished. But the point is, humanity went on. A great war like the Mahabharata took place. But then if you read the Shanti Parva thereafter, all that it focuses on is efficient administration, which means again that the worst has happened, but now how do we deal with it? So I think it is a learning in that sense. If you go back into our myths, all you find, why go far? Don't go into mythology. Go into the works of admin, like for example, the Arthashastra of Kautilya.
Yeah.
You see so many references which talk about things like, for example, what does a king need to do in order to prepare for bad times? How much grain should be stored in order to prepare for famine? What should be the slope of a chariot road in order to make sure that water cannot accumulate in the case of torrential rain? So, in other words, basic fundamental wisdom, or for example, what should be the cleanliness standards maintained. You see a lot of this ancient wisdom appearing again and again, both in our myths as well as, and of course, then you have the entire science of Ayurveda, in which you see a lot of basic common sense wisdom in terms of how you can lead a healthier lifestyle. So I think there is a lot in whether it is our history, whether it's our mythology, whether it's our scientific work, whether it is the Vedas. There is a lot of material that we can gain knowledge from. The question that really arises is that, are we going to go back into a world post-lockdown and post-COVID? Because as they say, human memory tends to be short.
Yeah.
So once everything bounces back to normal, will we say, hey, wait a minute, we were behaving in an atrocious manner and we should have learnt our lessons by now, or are we going to go back to business as usual?
No, that was my next question, because this virus has been a great leveler. You might be rich, you might be poor, you might be wealthy, not wealthy, you might be highly educated, not educated. It tells you that physically you as a species are the same. It doesn't matter to me. So that leveler effect, will it remain? Will it collapse some of the walls that we have built around us, psychological, mental, physical, or it's just going to be a temporary thing that we battled it out, we are back to our walls and we are back to our prejudices?
Okay. If we are talking about a leveler in economic terms, I don't believe it's going to be a leveler. If at all, it's only going to further promote inequalities. Because at this given moment of time, what we are going to see is pronounced inequality, the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer, or at least the rich being able to maintain a certain level while the poor really have to struggle. So from an economic point of view, I really can't see a leveling happening. Going into things like, for example, caste, religion, demographics, gender, those things, those divisions within India are so pronounced, unfortunately, that for every little issue that crops up,
that even coronavirus cannot destroy them.
Yeah, those are so deeply ingrained, and they've been ingrained for so much of time that to a very great extent, I believe that we would also find reasons to correlate it with what is going on in our present world. I mean, it's so very strange, but when religions like Christianity and Islam came into India, they were supposed to actually bring about equality amongst the lot of Hindus who considered themselves to be oppressed. Yeah. But you'll be surprised that those caste distinctions eventually spilled over into those religions also. So in a certain sense, I find that that all that actually ends up happening is that waters tend to get muddied.
So you frankly believe that nothing will change?
No, I believe some good will come out of it, whether it is in terms of the environment, whether it is in terms of humankind understanding that humanness means to be kind, to look out for others. I think it will emerge in terms of probably medical research and in terms of the industry that crops up around it. So there will be some positives emerging from it. I think the greatest positive.
But what you're saying is all those positives. Yeah.
The greatest positive that can emerge from it is probably a better understanding of what is valuable to us. But to think that suddenly humankind will become all wise, all knowing. Frankly, I have always maintained that humans are usually not wise, they are otherwise. I believe that fundamental nature may get diluted, but it's not going to change.
So basically, whatever changes we are going to imbibe within ourselves are going to be because of our fear for life. If we have become more hygienic, because we are afraid that we will get the virus. If we become more cautious, okay, because we will get the virus. So every instinctive change that we are going to get now is because of our fear for virus and not out of our wisdom.
It was the great Chanakya who said, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. Yeah. Whatever it takes, Pramod, whatever it takes to influence change, does it really matter as to what brings about change? As long as that change happens for the better, I think we should be happier for
it. No, but tells us a lot about humans, that we are acceptable to change only when it threatens us.
It does say a lot, but it also tells us that fundamentally our nature is one of being able to adapt to changes, to threats. We can adapt. And we've done that repeatedly. History has shown us that we've done it repeatedly. So to my mind, to completely sort of discount to discount human capacity to rise above all of this would also be wrong.
Yeah.
We need to keep that in mind.
My last question, what next for us fans? After this, I think we'll be really looking forward for some good books.
Pramod, as you know, my heart and soul, I've written several books in several genres, but my heart and soul belongs to a series which is known as the Bharat series.
Yes, yes.
In that Bharat series, till now, there have been 6 books, starting with the Rozabal Line, then Chanakya's Chant, the Krishna Key, Sialkot Saga, Keepers of the Kal Chakra, and Vault of Vishnu.
Vault of Vishnu, yeah.
And it is, as I say, it is ironical that this entire COVID emerged from China, because, as you know, half of Vault of Vishnu, the story is set in China. So, sometimes I think to myself that if this book had been scheduled to come out a year later, it would probably not have come out, because I would not have been able to get the research done. Because my research included several weeks in China researching this particular book.
Okay.
But the point is that to my mind now, going forward into the 7th and 8th and 9th book within the Bharat series, my passion has always been not specifically history or specifically mythology, but the possible overlap between history and mythology. I've always believed that history plus myth, or rather myth plus history, is equal to mystery. I mean, that has been my standard form. But over and above that, I'm also deeply interested in elements of philosophy, in elements of science, in elements of politics, in elements of anthropology. And there are currently 3 subjects that I'm evaluating, which all have a connection back to Bharat. But all of these are subjects that I believe they have in some ways a deeper connect to the psyche of Indians today. Obviously, at this point of time, there is no way that I'm going to talk publicly about what the actual topic is. I can only go round and round and give you a flavor of what the 7th book in the Bharat series will be.
And keep us more tempted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ashwin, thanks a lot for taking time out and speaking to us. I think pleasure, like always, listening to you, listening to the wisdom. Probably 3 months down the line, we shall talk again on the changing world and the changes that we would encounter then. But thanks a lot for talking to us.
I have some wonderful memories of personal interviews that I have done with you while I was sitting in Goa. And I hope that we will have a world which will be a safer and a healthier world, where we can actually do that face to face, rather than one of these long distance.
Absolutely.
So I wish you well, Pramod, and I wish you good health. I wish you to stay safe, and I want to wish all of your viewers exactly the same thing.
Thanks a lot, and you are in Mumbai, so please take care.
Thank you.
Stop there. So thanks a lot for talking to us. Pleasure, like always.